and what you think of the weather this winter without going into rant. Or maybe some of you love it. I don't know. I like it. So anyway, so let's go ahead and do that first. Go ahead and tell us your full name, whoever wants to start in the front or back, that's fine. We'll start over here maybe. And then tell us your name while you're taking the class and what you think about the weather so far, the winter weather.
My name is Derek Mesh. I'm taking the class because I lost my job and now I'm looking for a different career.
There you go.
And the weather is wonderful. We live in Illinois. This is it. This is what it's all about.
I'm Ryan Blacken. I'm taking this course because I plan on majoring in networking, and I'm just trying to get up to the higher courses.
Okay.
And as for the weather, I love it cold.
Yeah.
But I personally don't like it when we have so many ice storms because my job currently is getting all the carts and doing all the loading at Home Depot.
Okay, that's tough on the parking lots.
When the whole parking lot is a sheet of ice, it's kind of difficult.
Definitely understand that.
But other than that, I love it.
All right. Jack?
My name is Jack Brown, taking the class to learn some more networking, and I just don't like driving at this point.
You don't like driving. Okay, you're probably not alone there. Yeah.
My name is Stephanie Nelson.
Okay, all right. We'll start back there, over there.
My name is Josh. I'm taking the class because I want to pursue a career in networking.
Okay.
As for the weather, I hate the weather and I hate the cold.
You hate the winter and hate the cold. All right.
My name is Jeremy Coots. I am taking this class because I'm pursuing networking of some sort. And I like the cold, but I'm clumsy, so the ice isn't really.
Yeah, I about fell coming in, so I got you there. I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My name is Tony. My name is Luke. Well, that's usually what I go by. My name is Paul. I take this class because I want to be in IT security.
Okay.
I really hate this.
And what name do you like to go by?
Tony.
Tony. Okay. All right.
My name is Patrick Brown. I'm taking this course because I'm interested in computer security, looking into that for the future, and I hate the ice.
You hate the ice. Yeah. Well, we got one more. I'm going to put him on the spot. We're introducing each other, and just tell us your full name, why you're taking the class, and what do you think about the winter weather so far?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm Stephen. I am taking this class for my degree in IT security and data assurance.
Okay.
And I miss summer.
You miss summer. Yeah, you're probably not the only one. Well, I grew up in Southwest Missouri. You'll probably recognize as the semester goes on, you'll hear my southern accent a little bit more. But I was raised in Southwest Missouri. We got a lot of ice there near Kansas City. Actually, we were closer to Joplin, Missouri. You might have heard of it. Got hit in a tornado a few years back. And so we moved here about, I guess it's been 18 years ago now, from Springfield, Missouri. And so I'm used to cold weather. Difference up here, I'm thinking, for us anyway, is the wind. The wind is like major difference in Illinois than it is in Springfield, Missouri. Springfield, Missouri, I'm used to cold weather and ice, snow, but here you guys have the wind. That's really killer. You have to be bundled up. I now wear a scarf, and before I moved here, I never had a scarf, never wore a scarf. And so my wife finally talked me into wearing a scarf. And talking about slipping, somebody talked about not being clumsy, I think. I almost bought it coming in tonight, right around where the faculty park. There's just a sheet of black ice. I didn't even see it, and did like a Yosemite Sam dance to try to make it up the hill without falling. So I'll probably feel it tomorrow, I'm sure. I should have just fell. So anyway, that's me. I've been teaching this class now for 15 years. This is the 30th section of PCT130. And we started in another room, actually. I believe it was 213. Yeah, 213. Had a nice closet, and we had the computers around the edge of the room, and everybody sat in the middle. And we moved into here whenever Cisco came on board. We decided to put everything into one room This class mainly does intro level courses for Cisco networking, and this is one of the courses. PCT130 is a intro networking course for security. The makeup of the class is on Tuesday, it's discussion. I don't like to call it lectures, I like to call it discussion, even though sometimes I'm the one that talks. But I like to call it discussion on Tuesday. And then on Thursday is when we have our labs. Every Thursday we'll have a lab. And I believe week 1, I do not have scheduled a lab, but starting week 2 we do. So on Thursday I ask all students to bring in a 3-ring binder, and you can get them at Walmart that has those plastic sleeves that you can put CDs or DVDs in, because throughout the semester you'll get not only usually a handout on Thursday, but some weeks you'll get software, and it's nice to be able to put those in a binder where you won't lose them. They don't fit. I mean, it fit in your back pocket, a DVD would, but as soon as you set it in your car, you break it. So probably a good idea to have some type of DVD CD holder. And then you can convert that to a USB drive. I know some people, including myself, I don't really use DVDs, CDs too often, but I have converted a lot of that to USB, which most of you probably use anyway all the time. So, but on Thursday is a live lab that we'll be doing. As soon as we come to class on Thursday, the handouts will generally be on your keyboard, and we'll begin the lab. As soon as the lab's finished, we're done. Sometimes the lab goes all the way to the end of the time. Sometimes it's 30 minutes and we're done. At the end of every lab, we generally discuss what we did, what went right, what went wrong, interesting things you found out about it, maybe some things you'd like to research more. I believe the first lab on Thursday of next week, we're going to be doing a lab on NT Reset. And NT Reset is a Linux distribution CD that allows you to reset any password on a computer within a couple minutes once you learn how to use the tool. And network admins, it's crucial to have something like that, because when folks leave, say they quit, they get fired, sometimes they're not too nice and they might change the administrator password on a machine, on a server if they work in IT. And this tool will help you reset it immediately, either to a password that you want or just null it out to nothing. And the one Thursday next week, we're going to show you how to use it just to null out an administrator password. And again, once you learn how to use this tool, it works on Windows XP Service Pack 1 all the way up through Windows 8, which is 8.1, I believe, is the most recent version of Windows 8. And it's a Linux tool. If you've never used Linux, it's nothing to worry about. Everything in this class, I will teach you what you don't know. And Linux is just another type of operating system that's very popular to run on a DVD or a CD or a USB drive, and it just runs by itself as an operating system off of a CD or DVD or USB drive. Hackers do use it a lot because it's untraceable a lot of times. Network admins use it a lot because it's a real nice tool to use, because they have tons of utilities on these DVDs, literally thousands of network security utilities where you can go in and fix registry on a Windows machine, reset a password like we're going to do next Thursday, clean up viruses on a machine with the Linux distribution, and all the while not really having to install anything. You just boot up from a DVD that has Linux on it and special applications, and it allows you to clean that PC in moments where it would be impossible to do if you try to boot it up yourself and use a Windows app or something to clean it. We've all been there maybe where you've had a Windows machine that had a blue screen of death, or it's locking up, or it's freezing, whether you yourself had this happen or maybe a friend or family member or work associate. And we've all been there. And so the tools you'll learn this semester, some of the tools you'll learn how it'll help you in those situations with the Linux distribution. And then also you might learn to like Linux and actually maybe have a version of Linux that you like at the end of the semester that you might use quite often. The one I like to use is Ubuntu, you might have heard of. We'll be playing with that this semester. It's really the most popular Linux distribution out right now, and probably the most user-friendly to folks that are used to Windows. I always tell a story about my father-in-law who had a Windows machine for years, and every time you went home, he would have issues, like maybe some of you happen to you because they know you like computers or you work on computers, so they always say, hey, my computer's slow, it's got a virus, can you help me with this? So I installed a version of Linux operating system about 5 years ago on his home PC and never had an issue since. It just sits and runs, and he does his internet browsing and printing and word processing. That's about it. It goes on Facebook every once in a while, but had no issues, no viruses. And so that's one of the tools that you'll use this semester is a Linux distribution. And so, but each week you'll have a lab on Thursday, on Tuesdays, just discussion. So let's go ahead and go over the getting started first in the class conference, right at the very top. This just helps get started with what the class is about. It says course designed using modules each week. Each module represents a number of pages. Each page must be completed before you continue. I did turn off the feature in this LMS, this learning management system, that forced you to complete a page before it went to the next page. It was kind of annoying, so I turned that off. But I do still recommend you to complete whatever it is on the page that you're on before you go to the next one, just so you won't forget. A new module, an example like week 2 of next week, cannot be started until all assignments are completed. Again, I don't force you anymore. I did turn that off because it annoyed me. I know it probably annoyed students, but it did annoy me having to, say that did I complete something, because when you guys are in the classroom, you'll notice I'm down here on the bottom right of my screen where it says leave student view. I'm in student view so I can see the website like you guys see it. Okay, well, if I didn't turn something in that week and was showing the class something, it wouldn't let me go to the next thing. So it was kind of annoying, so I turned that off. So I think you'll be thankful for that, even though you might not have experienced it. Maybe some of you did, because some faculty might have had that last semester on their assignments possibly. Main pages in the class are home, which is the one we're looking at when you first come to the website. Announcements, weekly announcements, module, showing all the modules, syllabus, shows all assignments, grades, accessing all your grades. Once you've read that, you're just going to post down here like Derek and Joshua have. I have read, and post it. And to do that, basically, you're going to come down here to the bottom of this and or actually right here where it says reply, and you'll just type in I have read. If you're in there right now, you can go ahead and do that if you don't want to mess with it later, and then just say post, click post. So it's pretty easy there. So that's the first one, is getting started. I'm going to click back over here on the left side of the browser on the home link and go to live chat. This one, I think I have it turned off right now. I know I do. Yeah, I do have it turned off. Let me show you what it looks like in another class. I'll turn it on after we leave tonight, but I have it off right now. Let's go to another class where I know I have it in use. Yeah, the mobile development, we'll go there. Okay, so you'll pretend for a second this is our class and you need help. It's on a Friday night and you're doing a project, or you're thinking about a research paper that's going to be due in a couple weeks, and you want to kind of ask me a question. You'll be able to click on live chat in the conference, and when you click on live chat, it's going to take you to a page like this that you can type in your name, and you can just type in first name, it's fine, because I'll know what class you're from on my side when I see it. And then what's going to happen here is I'm going to be prompted on my phone or my tablet or whatever I'm on at the time to say, yes, I'll chat with this person. And then you'll see me reply back something. And then you can ask me a question right there. And so I can be anywhere literally in the world and be able to reply to your chat immediately. What I generally do at the end of the session is I'll email you back the chat log, so you'll kind of have a hard copy or an inbox copy of what we talked about, because sometimes I'll give you links to stuff or whatever, or screenshots or maybe, and it's nice to have that as a record later on when you go back to it. And so that will be turned on. After you guys leave tonight, I'll have that turned on for you. But that live chat's going to be useful. It is useful for students that need help and need help now, possibly, and that's why I made it available. So if you've never used live chat, it's really easy. Maybe you've, I don't know, texted people or been on Facebook Messenger. It's the same concept, but you're able to do it for the class. So that's what live chat is. Okay, let's go over week 1, what's due this week, or what we'll be doing this week. Each week we'll generally have what's called a task at the very top. And if you click on task, it'll show you what we're going to do that week. Read chapter 1. Podcast, which is what you're hearing and seeing right now, will be posted as a podcast here on the website in this week module. I'll also have it in iTunes U, which we'll look at in a second. And then in-class lab on Thursdays of each week. And then review questions and quiz. So you'll notice on the bottom right, I can click next. It'll go to the podcast page, which this is from last semester. I left in there. I'll replace this with tonight's podcast and Thursday's podcast, both. Because on Tuesday night, basically, I'm just doing an introduction. Thursday, I'm going to cover chapter 1 stuff, discussion, in place of what we would normally do, which would be a lab. About me is filling out questions and replying questions, name you go by, favorite food, favorite movie, hobbies, why you're taking this class. You'll post that information below. And I tell you in here, I believe, to copy the questions, then you'll paste those, copy the questions, paste the questions into a new post, answer them, and reply to at least 2 others like Joshua's done here. And so you can come in here and hit reply to Joshua's post and say what kind of pizza it is you like. I like, a Supreme pizza or something like that. And so that way you kind of get to know each other a little bit better, and it's something to get started with in the class. Next is review questions. Most weeks you will have review questions. It's 20 points for review questions. It's a text entry submittal on this one. And if you're new to RBC Eagle, on the right side of every assignment, if there is something due on that page, it'll say submit assignment. And you'll know what type of submittal you need where it says right here, submitting what. In this case, it's just a text entry. And so it's due Sunday at 11:59. They won't let us put midnight. It has to be 11:59 for some reason. But if it's midnight and you submit it, you're fine. But pretty much everything, in fact, everything that's due this semester in all of my classes is generally always due on the following Sunday at midnight. So for this class, PCT130, this following Sunday at midnight is when everything's due, including your review questions. All I need from you on review questions, and the review questions, by the way, are found in the back of your textbook in each chapter. Since we're going over chapter 1 in this week, it'll be chapter 1 review questions. All I need is answers only. So an example, you'll put 1A, 2B, 3D. If a question is an essay, needs an essay type of answer, short answer, just put this short answer only. I don't need the question itself. I do suggest when you're doing your review questions, typing it in like Notepad or something. Definitely do it outside of the web interface, the website, because this thing does time out after about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe even shorter than that. And so I don't want you to be typing in there, be reading something for 10 minutes and a time out and you've lost everything you've typed in. So make sure and type your answers in another document, and then you can just paste it if you want to into this text entry. Does that make sense? That's all I need you to do for review questions. Any questions on review questions? Is that crystal clear or clear as mud? All right, good.
So you click submit assignment and then we attach the text document?
You won't be able to attach. You can only paste.
Oh, okay.
So you'll copy from, say, Word or Notepad or whatever it is that you typed your answers in and then paste it in here. Yep. Good question. Okay. Next, for week 1, is the Chapter 1 Quiz 1. It's due again this following Sunday. 44 points, 28 questions, no time limit. You get 3 attempts on this. It's open book and untimed. It's a good idea to read your chapter before attempting the quiz. If you don't, you'll be forced to go back into it and read it anyway to get the answer. And so if you read it the first time and go through it, you might not know exactly what the answer is possibly, but you'll know in the vicinity of that chapter where it's found, where you can go to the text to find it. So you are allowed to use your textbook. I want you to use your textbook to take this assessment. Does that make sense? Because in network security and in networking in general, you're always using references, whether it be online, which is most how we do it today, or even a hardback book or reference book of some type. So questions on the quizzes. This is, again, due Sunday. So far this week, you have due the About Me, the review questions, and quiz. Now, if you look on the overhead, you can go with me on yours as well. Excuse me. I click on calendar at the top of Eagle, and it'll bring me to a calendar for this class and the due dates of that calendar. Now, one of the cool things they've added to Eagle recently, I believe, is on the right side. If you guys have a mobile device or you want to save this to another calendar, there is a calendar feed on the right side. If I click on that, it'll say copy this link below and paste it into any calendar app that takes iCal feeds. iCal feeds is a #1 type of feed that most all devices will be able to use, whether it be an iPhone, a Droid, a tablet, will all be able to use iCal. Or if you use Google Calendar, which a lot of students do, which you already have Google already because that's what Rock Valley College uses for your email. Outlook, it also works with an iCal. If you click on where it says click here to view the feed, it'll just bring it to another page, which should end in an ICS file to where you could save it externally to put into a calendar. All right? You don't have to use that. I'm just showing it to you. Over here on the left side, or on the actual calendar itself, you can see when things are due. If I click on About Me and hover over, or if you just hover over it, it'll actually pop up what that assignment's about. You can click on the actual link and it'll show you the actual assignment. And if you click on the link that's the title up here where it says One About Me, it'll bring you to that exact assignment in Eagle. Now, personally, as a student, I like the calendar the best. It's easier to kind of see at a snapshot when everything's due for the entire class. So before you guys got here tonight, I made sure and checked the dates. I did note this research paper one is off kilter, so I'm going to click on that real quick because it says it's due January 2nd, which I don't know why you guys haven't turned that in yet. Oh, forgot you weren't here. But I'll change that. That's going to be actually not due till the end of week 2, I believe. So anyway, that's calendar. Calendar, when you click on it again, it'll bring you by default to the month view. You can go to week view. The plus symbol will allow you to create your own events. If you're involved with clubs or whatever, you can do that. And then the agenda view is if you have any agenda items you've added, it'll put it in there. Plus, it'll give you a nice agenda view. Actually, gives you a nicer kind of snapshot of everything that's due for this class from now till the end of the semester. So that's really maybe the nicest view here. I'm thinking, or the cleanest view might be that snapshot agenda view. Looks good to me anyway. I like it. Questions on calendar? All right. And I will correct that January 2nd date that's out there. Yes?
So the
Yeah, topic's pretty quick. Yeah, you're right. In fact, let me pull that up here real quick. I think it's next week, Jack. Let me look here. Yeah, you're going to pick your research paper, even though that I guess the due date is right there. You're going to pick the research paper by the end of next week, so a week from this coming Sunday, January 26th. And we'll go over that in just a second, some of those topics. In fact, I kind of jump ahead on the research paper this week to kind of give you a feel for, what topics you can choose from. And the reason I choose week 2 is I've found over the years, if you wait a few weeks, it kind of taints the pool for selection a little bit. And because you guys are new into the class, maybe you're new into network security, and you might have heard of some of these terms we'll look at in a second for research paper, but you don't know a lot about it. That's what I want. I want that kind of just interest that you don't know a lot about, because you'll get the most out of those type of research papers, and it'll make for a good presentation. Because instead of you guys doing a boring final at the end of the semester, I actually have you present your research to us. Everybody will present your research in a presentation form to the entire class. And it's amazing, each semester, this is the 30th semester I've taught it, the new stuff that students come up with each semester. So it's topics we've not touched possibly in the class at all, or it's topics that you've heard about in the class and you wanted to research more about it, or it's a topic coming into the class you wanted to learn a lot about. That would be a great topic to choose from. So we'll go over that in just a second. So any questions, what's due by Sunday? About me, review questions, quiz 1, and the getting started, I think most of you already submitted that while we were going over it. I do want to make mention, or need to make mention, on the left side of the site, there's a Brainfuse online tutoring that we have here on campus. You probably won't need it for this class. In fact, I know you won't. But there's other classes you might be taking where you need help, whether it be for math, writing, research, whatever. They have live help online from expert tutors from around the world. They also have local tutors here on campus that are tied into this. And it does have a message up here that says it's unavailable for Monday, January 20th. We'll resume normal on Tuesday, January 21st. So there must be some maintenance they're going to be doing. And so I've heard of a lot of students that have used this that really liked it. And it's free for the college to use. And they get some funding for it, to pay for it, some of the services. But definitely it's great for studying, research, if you need help in any. Don't feel bad if you need help too, that's what you're here for on campus. And so if you need help, take advantage of it. Because I think there was a option for instructors to turn that off on their, and so like I said, even though you guys might not use it for this class, I see no reason not to have it on every single class just in case a student might need it. And so, and if you know somebody that wants to be a tutor, or you yourself want to be a tutor in any subject, they do pay fairly well for tutors here on campus. The last I remember or heard last semester, somewhere around 10 or 15 bucks an hour for tutoring. So, that's not bad, not shabby. And so if you're good in math or science or reading or English, I know they always need help in those areas, for tutors to help in those areas. So questions on that, on the Brainfuse online tutoring. Use it, play around with it, kind of see what's there. Because what I found is when students play with it and they see what's in there, you might not need it, but you might have a friend here on campus that does need it, that you can share it with them and say, hey, have you seen that Brainfuse online tutoring? It might help you with your paper that you're having a problem in English. I noticed you've taken English for 3 times now and flunked it 3 times. Maybe you could use this Brainfuse online tutoring to help you. All right, we're going to go back to the home page. And I want to talk next about research paper, which is due in a couple weeks. If you click on week 2, pick research paper, there is a link in there called research paper and presentation. I want to go over that real quick. Okay, research project. Success in your career will greatly depend greatly on your written and oral communication skills. Our school recognizes the need for students to develop proficiency in these skills and requires all students to submit a research paper and provide an oral presentation each class in this department. Format, 5 to 7 pages, excluding illustration bibliography. Margins 1 inch all the way around except for the top 1.5 inches. Spacing double, single space for long quotes. 10 to 12 point size for font. Times New Roman or Courier is what I recommend for the font style. Illustrations, welcome if of good quality. You don't need a cover sheet and you don't need a binder because you're going to be emailing these or submitting these, at the end of the semester. We'll look at the topics at the end of the document. Attributions for your research paper. All works and illustrations used in your paper must be cited. This means crediting the source where you found information you used to support your work. If you fail to give credit for copyright information and present as your own work, that constitutes plagiarism and will be penalized by a 0 for the project. When you're citing sources, you can do either works used or works consulted. Works used is the source material you actually used in the paper. Works consulted, you probably looked at a lot of sources before you located usable material. Those sources deserve credit for that research, and you'll be considered for credit for works consulted. List your primary sources as consulted work. An example would be a network administrator that you've talked to about the topic you're going to choose, and say you don't even use that network administrator's information. I want that in the works consulted. You talk to him, you spent time, whether it be on call or email, walking down the street in a restaurant or whatever. Does that make sense? So that would be works consulted. And in that case, all I would need is a person's name and where they work at, and that's it. You don't need to give me their contact information. Just their name and where they work at is all I want for works consulted on a name-by-name basis. You might also consult internet pages you don't use, magazines you don't use, but you consulted that information. There is a link I have here for MLA documentation, which you might have heard of in other classes if you've taken English at all, or English in high school I know you took, but if you've not taken any here in college, don't be freaked out by MLA standards. They're pretty basic. I am not an English professor or an English teacher or scholar by any means. The whole purpose of what we're doing here is just to present information. So if you put it together in a fairly logical format that I can make sense of, you're going to make an A on the paper. Does that make sense? I'm not going to grade it grammatically, just so you know that. You're not going to get red marks back. Or, I noticed you use this adverb when it should have been a pronoun, or fragmented sentences, which I'm bad at fragmented sentences myself. You won't get any of that. You'll just basically be graded on the content of the paper, all right? But we have to follow some guidelines, so I put in there the MLA that'll help you. Because I know for some of you it might have been a long time since you've created a research paper. And technically in networking or IT-related fields, this is not required. But the reason I do it is every job that I've sent students, or even myself over the years, every job I've sent students to take requires some type of logical skills to put together your thoughts for a presentation, for the boss, for the finance person, to buy a piece of equipment. You got to be able to research and put your due diligence together and give information for people to understand, basically. And so hopefully that'll help you do that. The goals for this entire thing is to display your ability to research and deliver information as a career skill. Creative presentations, ideas are welcome. Use your imagination. Develop public speaking skills. If you have stage fright, it's the best way to overcome it. Play the part of instructor. Instructing others will be part of your career. Oddly enough, some people even enjoy teaching. It's amazing, in the 30 sessions, the 30 instances of this class, 100% of my students have completed this project. And I would say 15-20% of those students have never given a speech before, or very long time ago, maybe in junior high, and that's it. And it really helped them a lot. And so you guys will do a great job. I'm not We're all here to learn, including myself. And so that's the way I want you to look at it when you're doing your presentation or research paper. Visual aids, or let me get back to the format, 10 to 15 minutes, time your presentation. Now, I always throw this out here at this point. I always offer this each semester. In fact, last semester I did have a student did this about 50%. We're in a digital age, right? Everybody does video, right, of everything, right? YouTube, Vimeo, whatever is out there. Vine, right? The Vine videos are popular. What would be cool is, if you want to, you don't have to, is you can videotape or have your friend videotape your presentation. Say you're doing your presentation research on setting up a Wi-Fi secure network, and you have your friend or family member video you setting up from hardware, getting a Cisco Wi-Fi router, setting it up on the computer, putting the wires together, logging into a laptop, connecting it, talking about, doing the whole thing via video. You can actually come up here and say, this is my presentation, this is why I chose it, watch this video for 10 minutes. Sit down, the video's done, you come back up and say, is there any questions? I think that's a pretty good option, right? And every semester I offer this, about the last 5 semesters I guess I've done it. Last semester I did have a student that did about 75% of his presentation was video that he did outside of class and brought it in. So, most of you have some type of recording device, whether it be on your phone or otherwise, where you can do this. So I challenge you, I'd like to have at least one person in here choose to do their presentation like that, like a video presentation of their final. It'd be cool, number one. Number two, you would learn maybe something a little bit more about presentation, because when you do a video, I know if you're like me, when you're doing a video to present to people, you want to make sure it looks right, it sounds right. So it'll be probably a lot of takes like they do in the movies, I'm guessing. It won't be like a one-take thing, I'm guessing, which that's not a bad thing. So it'll be a little bit more polished probably than what it would be if you were to stand up here and do it. And it'll probably take a little bit more work than just standing up here and presenting. But I think the end result might be, well worthwhile. I know it would be. And so that's an option to throw out. You can do PowerPoint. You can use PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, or if you don't have Office at home, I'll go ahead and write up here the software I recommend that's open source that you can download for free. Yes, that's right. Thank you. Forgot about that. Is it LibreOffice.com or org? Is it org? Okay, thank you. Yeah, they did change that. Scratch that. It was open office for years. LibreOffice, I believe I'm spelling that right. Is that correct? LIBRE office.org is a free open source office platform that you can create presentations in an Office PowerPoint format. Okay. Now with Libre, you can actually create PowerPoint, Microsoft Office PowerPoint, and edit Microsoft Office PowerPoint as well. I believe it also allows you to create a Word document, like an Excel type of document. And I believe they threw in here recently like an Access type, a database type of repository. But there's no reason to have to download or buy Microsoft Office, even though I use it. I also use LibreOffice, or it used to be OpenOffice on my Mac and also on my PC, and so it's great. How many uses LibreOffice or have used it before? Okay, cool, great. And what's your guys' opinion of LibreOffice as far as just people using it coming from Microsoft world?
Absolutely no reason to buy Microsoft Office.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have any issues in your mind? Okay, cool. Because I personally don't, but I'd like to hear your guys' feedback on that too, so great. So these guys say it's good to go for LibreOffice. And this would be good not just for your research paper and presentation, but you could also use LibreOffice for your other classes without having to spend $100+ on MS Office, right? So, 10 to 15 minutes length on presentation, visual aids, slideshows or video, as I already mentioned. You can also use a whiteboard if you want to. Handouts are acceptable if lasting value. Try to create something the class would use later. So here's what I tell you on handouts. If you yourself would use this personally in networking, it's good to have this handout. And a good example in the past would be a student did one on, I believe, 3 ways to secure your Wi-Fi network, and it had 3 easy steps with visual and web links on the one-page handout. That was perfect because people took it home and could actually use it immediately to set up a secure Wi-Fi network. If you would take a handout that you just created and throw it in the trash afterwards, don't create it. Okay? So, and we've all created stuff like that, right? We've all created stuff like that on the fly or whatever. So most likely, most of your presentations won't have handouts. I'm not discouraging handouts, but if it wouldn't be of any lasting value, just don't create them. Over the years, I became a big believer in green everything, green technology, not using the printer over there, even though we have one in here. So I generally won't print out anything unless I really have to, and so I don't expect you to as well, so don't worry about that. Questions so far before we go into the topic area? Okay, so we went over research papers so far. We went over the format of your presentation, which can be PowerPoint, LibreOffice, video format, whiteboard. While you're standing up here, you can use cue cards if you want to. You can bring your tablet up here if you want to as a slideshow thing. You can actually present your tablet onto the overhead if you have either iOS, iPad, or even a Droid device. We can probably connect it to the overhead and play with it to get it on the overhead as well. If you wanted to present from your tablet, you can definitely do that. So let's go ahead and go over the topics real quick. When you finish your presentation, I already mentioned this, the courtesy question, are there any questions you'll need to ask? And generally you're going to put that on the very last slide of the presentation. So let's go over some suggested research paper topics, and then we'll see if you have any questions on that. Number 1, choose a famous hacker and research what attack they mounted and how. And this can be old school hackers, or this can be new school hackers, either one. Like a Kevin Mitnick's, or even in the latest, in the last year that you find, you can definitely research on. Describe the development of the rotor machine and its algorithm in World War II. Research how antivirus software works. What has been the role of NIST in development of security algorithms? How much work has been done in verification, like proof of correctness of security algorithms? How was the algorithm for MD4 developed? How should wireless communications be made more secure? Should there be different encryption standards for the US and the rest of the world? Discuss the pros and cons. Even the most secure encryption can be easily bypassed if you're required to turn over your key in a lawsuit or criminal investigation. Discuss legal issues and network security. What would be some good modern day uses of steganography? Discuss applications of quantum computing to security. How reliable are modern algorithms for random number generation? How could they be improved? Discuss the use of certificates and centralized authentication centers such as certificate authorities in network security. What's the future of biometrics and security? Contrast elliptical curve cryptography with RSA. Discuss the future of network security if parallel machines become commonplace. How good is security algorithm used in web browsers? Discuss ways to improve it. Discuss different approaches to key distribution as it deals with encryption. Are digital signatures the best way to protect copyrights, say on games? Secure passwords are often hard to remember. Discuss the trade-offs between the security and convenience. This is a new one the last couple of semesters, cell phone security, antivirus, things like that. Any other topic on number 22 that you are interested in that has to do remotely with network security, I'll let you create that presentation in PowerPoint or research paper and presentation. Now, when I mean remotely, I mean remotely. Anything that remotely has to do with network security. So be creative in your thinking. Once, I think it was last semester, a student did network security as it pertains to social media, social networks like Facebook, Twitter, which everybody uses, LinkedIn, social media, network security as it pertains to companies using LinkedIn in a network environment. So be creative in your thinking. It does not have to be any of these on these lists. You can actually take 2 or 3 of these on this list and come up with one idea. Currently, right now, what I want you to come up with on week 2, the end of week 2, is actually a broader idea, and then mid-semester you will limit that scope to something to where you can bite it off. Does that make sense? So right now I don't want you to worry about limiting yourself when you choose your topic. Okay? An example would be wireless security. That's pretty broad, right? That's pretty broad. It's a pretty wide gamma. You might say week 2, I want to do my research paper and presentation on wireless security. Then around October, I'm going to let everybody know, hey, in fact, there's one of the weeks in October, 1st November, I'll let you work on your research paper on a Thursday. I'll talk to everybody and remind you to now, let's take this broad topic you chose in week 2, and let's narrow it down. If you chose wireless security as your topic, what part of wireless security are you going to focus on? You know, the different types of Wi-Fi security, the manufacturers of Wi-Fi security components, the future of Wi-Fi security. So you're going to kind of narrow it down to a more bite-sized component. Does that make sense? So questions on the research paper presentation. You have 2 weeks now to think of that topic or a topic. You can talk to your friends and family. You can research these words that you don't know yet on Google and Google it and figure out what those words mean. What those terms mean if you don't understand it. A lot of these terms in here that are in here we'll actually go over this semester. Like here in a few weeks we actually do a lab on steganography, the art of hiding something in something else. We actually show you how to hide data, how hide files in pictures, and then extract those files from a picture. And we talk about how hackers have used that over the years, starting way back in the news anyway, with Al-Qaeda back during George Bush's days, where they found pictures on Al-Qaeda website that had hidden maps built into images using steganography. So we'll talk about that here in a few weeks and actually do a lab on it. So that's research topic. Click back on the home button, and we are done. Period. Done. Done for Tuesday. Remember on Thursday this week, if you do have a smartphone, do me a favor before you get here Thursday, because I think I'm going to try to get the badges and everything here Thursday. Email me in Eagle that you have a smartphone that I can text you a QR code picture and you can start using Thursday. I'll email it or I'll text it to you between now and Thursday. And so if you could email me, if you do have a smartphone that can accept text pictures, email me your phone number and I will reply back with that picture attached in a text message between now and Thursday. So can you guys do that? Those of you who have a smartphone, that would be great. If you don't have a smartphone, don't worry about it. Everybody will have a badge that you'll get on Thursday. But if you don't want to use your badge, you can use your smartphone. Basically what you're going to do is I'll show you real quick on my iPad what this thing looks like. You'll basically have a big green button when you come in. It'll say PCT130. You'll be on the edge of the table. You'll click check in. You'll take your badge, swipe it over the camera. It'll accept it. Done. And that's what we're going to do for your roster each week. So any questions before we're done? Okay, when you're logging off your computer, you don't need to shut it down because there's going to be another class coming in. And so you can go ahead and make sure and definitely exit out of Eagle and anything you're logged into. And then you can just log off your computer. Make sure and bring your belongings with you. If you have USB drives you have in the computer, bring those with you. This Thursday we will not be doing a lab, so you don't need to bring your 3-ring binder, but I will remind you next Tuesday to do so, and you can get those fairly cheap at Walmart. So look forward to a great semester. If you have any questions, come up and see me before you leave.